Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, then hi, my name is Beth and today I'm going to be talking about my positive home birth story with this one. This is Sienna. She's actually 4 months old today. The day I'm filming this, which is the 15th of April. And yeah, I just wanted basically to go through my birth story with her as she's my last baby. So I woke up at 7 o'clock in the morning on Wednesday the 15th of December. I'd been up through the night with like pain in my back and my hips on and off, and so yeah, I woke up. I was having tightenings, but they felt more than tightenings, if that makes sense. So they felt more than practice contractions. Braxton Hicks. And I rang my partner up. He was at work and I was like, I'm just letting you know I'm having what I think is contractions for the start of labour, but I'm not completely sure. And he basically said he wasn't risking it and he was coming home, especially with me being up in the night in pain anyway. So he took our son to school. I stayed here and like they were fine. I could walk about and everything. I wasn't stopping in my tracks. They weren't taking my breath away or anything, but they were definitely noticeable. But for most of the morning, they were pretty, like they were completely bearable. They actually stopped at one point. I think it was about in between 1 and 2 o'clock they stopped, which really annoyed me because that had happened 3 times before. I kept having false labour where I was thinking I was in labour and all of a sudden the contractions had just stopped, and I thought that's what it was. But with me being up all night, I was tired and I said to my partner, look, can we just have a nap please? He says, yeah, sure. I think I'd just got to sleep, or I might have been asleep. All of a sudden, my eyes shot open and the contraction I had, like, I actually said, ow. So that was a big compared to the ones I've been having before. I told my partner about it, but then they stopped after that. And I said, you know what, let's go out to McDonald's because walking's meant to help with labour. McDonald's is about 15 minutes away from our house. And we live in a hilly area. It's all downhill to McDonald's. Walk to McDonald's fine. Very little contractions and that. I was in McDonald's sorting my order and I had another one where I was like going, and I was so glad I had a face mask on because otherwise everyone at McDonald's would have known I was in pain. And I was whispering to my partner, like, I just had one like I did when I woke up. He says, are you alright? Do you want to go back home? I'm like, no, I'm alright. And by the time we got out of McDonald's, we didn't eat in, we just took it to go. It was time to go pick our son up from school, so we went together, but you have to go uphill a bit to then go back downhill to my son's school. The little uphill bit, I had quite a bad one, where I had to stop in my tracks. And I was like, wait. And I was there saying, like, ow, this is quite a strong one. But then the one when we were walking downhill to school, it had gone back to how it was before, very bearable and stuff like that. Picked Kane up, and then it's all uphill back home. So going back, I think I had 3 quite strong contractions. I was like, yeah, okay, yeah, these are like the proper ones now. I couldn't believe it at the time either because I was just stood there leaning on somebody's fence thinking, why did I think it was a good idea to come out of the house? Got home and I think because of how hectic it was and everything, because we came and then with our other daughter Naomi being a bit hectic, he was a bit riled up from being at school, and I got a bit stressed out because I was in pain, and then it was very loud. The contractions started to calm down. So I went upstairs, and then I started getting really uncomfortable. I was like, right, Josh, I'm going to run a bath and sit in it to try and help with the pain while you blow the birthing pool up. This was about 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and the contractions were getting strong to the point they were taking my breath away. I was having to breathe through them and that, and I said to Josh, right, I'm gonna phone triage now. I think now's the right time to phone them. And I let them know, like, they knew I was having a home birth. They were like, oh, okay, we'll see if there's any midwives on call. I think it were 15-20 minutes later they ran back and said, oh, there's nobody on call, you're going to have to come into hospital. Now, if you're new here, you won't know. I've previously spoken about my second child's birth. It wasn't very nice at all. It was actually a bit traumatic. Not physically, more mentally. So I actually got PTSD from that, and I wanted to stay as far away from the hospital as I could, even though it was a different hospital that I'd be going to. I basically said to them that I didn't want to go into hospital if there wasn't a need to go, like if it wasn't an emergency, and that I trusted my body because my body knows what it's doing. It's the third time I was giving birth naturally, and I said to him, if I have even the tiniest bit of doubt, I will come straight in, but until then I'm comfortable staying at home. So what we thought was going to be like a home birth with a midwife ended up turning into a free birth, which is obviously a birth where there is no midwife. We didn't really think anything of it though. We just got on with it. Like, Josh had blown the pool up. That all blew up quite quickly. It was getting the water in. So I couldn't turn the taps on in the bath to put more water in because Josh was filling the pool up and my bath had gone cold. And I think the water in the birthing pool was filled up about a quarter. I was like, right, I'm getting in. I can't wait any longer. And the water helped so much. Like, if you are going to give birth, or if you know somebody that's going to give birth, I would definitely recommend sitting in warm water. It helped the contractions so much. I got in, I'd say around 6 o'clock, and they started to really pick up after that, I noticed, and my partner Josh had noticed because he was timing the contractions on my phone, and they were going from being 7 minutes apart consistently. That's when I rang triage about 5 o'clock. They were 7 minutes apart consistently, to then when I was in the pool, he said out of nowhere they went from being 7 to 6 to 5. It was, each time it was just going closer and closer together, and I obviously could tell. I might actually need to get my partner a second for this, because this is where my memory's starting to struggle. Josh! Right, so I just said about how I woke him up. I was showing him I went downstairs, he was asleep, bless him. I just said about I were in the birthing pool and you were timing the contractions, and we could both tell like they were getting closer and closer together. That's where my memory's starting to struggle. When was that, when the midwife phoned, or because the midwife said she'd phone back later to see how it would go in? No, so
I called them whilst you'd already started howling.
Oh, whenever, like...
Yeah.
I think you actually stopped timing them, didn't you, because of how close they were getting?
Yeah.
I basically went from breathing through them to like shouting, didn't I?
Yeah.
Saying I couldn't do it and I needed your hand, and I was squeezing his hand, he couldn't move, could you?
No, pretty much no.
And the kids were in the living room, and Naomi.
To be fair to them though, they were watching telly.
They were like, even with all of it going on.
Well, she kept going over a bit, but that was to be expected.
Yeah, because she tried getting in the pool a few times, didn't she?
Yeah. So how it could have been, that was how it was.
It
was not too bad.
They just went on as if nothing were happening, didn't they?
Pretty much, yeah.
So you rang them. I thought they rang.
They were ringing.
Yeah.
But it wasn't at the stage that they needed at that point.
Ah, right.
Or was that the final stage, yeah. Because I remember once it got to a certain point there, and obviously you said about what you were feeling and how it was feeling there, so obviously they knew from that point there that it was progressing quickly.
Yeah. My labours have all been fairly quick.
So obviously they stayed on the phone from there.
So he was on the phone with the midwife, and the midwife were asking me to basically see if I could feel the head. Bearing in mind, I've never done this before. And so I felt something hard, like on the inside. So I'm like, oh, that must be the head. He's gone back downstairs now. So with each contraction, I was sort of like pushing. I had the urge to push anyway. I was like pushing down every time I had a contraction. I was feeling, and it was going further and further down. Then I had a contraction, I was pushing, and I felt burning, which is what you feel before the head comes out. And then I felt a pop. I was like, oh, the head's out. And they were like, oh, can you just put your hand down and feel baby's head? I put my hand down and there was nothing there. And I started to panic. I was there saying, baby's head's not there, baby's head's not there. And Josh were there saying, it's alright, it's alright. And he was trying to calm me down. And then I realised what it was. It was my waters. I'd basically pushed my waters out. Which was so crazy to me because, like with my other two births, well, with Kane, my waters broke first and then I had contractions. And with Naomi, my waters broke just before I started pushing. So, and it was crazy because what I felt was really, really hard. See, I basically pushed my waters out, and all this time the midwife's on the phone like saying, oh, is the baby out there? And we were both saying, no, it was my waters. And the midwife was saying, oh, so the baby's in the water. We were like, no, it was my waters. And we had to say it a good few times before she actually took in what we were saying. She kept saying, oh, so the baby's in the water then. We were like, no, it was my waters. So I think Josh said it was about 15-20 minutes after that I started getting the urge to push again, because me panicking, it had made everything sort of slow down. So then I started pushing, and then I felt the really bad burn, and then I was like, yeah, that's the head. And so then her head was out, and I put my hand down, and the first thing I looked up and said to Josh, she's got hair. Which you've seen, she has a lot of hair. And then I always forget, well, I say always, I've only gave birth 3 times, but yeah, I forgot how awful it is to push the shoulders out. I think Josh said it was 3 contractions after, it took 3 contractions to get her shoulders out after her head was out, because they were just so hard, and I was so tired at this point. I basically didn't get a lot of sleep through the night. I had about half an hour nap that day. I was really tired, and I was using, I think, every single muscle I could. So I was like, not leaning over the pool. Like, I had, say this is the top of the pool, I had my partner's hand here, and I was on my knees, and I was like pulling his hand down and pushing at the same time. So I was like using his hand sort of to help me. I don't know, that doesn't make any sense in the world to me, but at the time it was helping. He couldn't move at all, bless him. Like, Naomi kept going up to him, trying to ask him to open some mawams. And he was on the phone to the midwife, trying to open mawams for Naomi, and then had me howling, basically, in his face. The poor guy, he was amazing. Honestly, he was absolutely brilliant. Couldn't have asked for a better birthing partner. Couldn't have asked for a better partner. It was like, from my point of view, it was like second nature to him, if that makes any sense. So then the shoulders came out. I thought I'd pushed her out completely. The midwife asked Josh to go behind to see if she was like fully out, and her feet were still in, which I didn't even realise. He was like, "Oh, Beth, she's not all out." I was like, "Oh, okay," and did a tiny push and she was all out. Then after that I felt really dazed. I felt really out of it. I sort of turned around and I saw her there in the water, and I picked her up, put her on my chest, and she didn't even cry. She was just looking around. She didn't cry at all. The midwife was saying, "Oh, she's not crying." I'm there saying she's okay. Like, she had her head up, looking at me. I had her on my chest here, on her belly, and she lifted her head up and she was looking at me, and I could hear her breathing. Like, her breathing was fine. But the midwife wasn't happy. She wanted to hear her cry. So my partner, Josh, I think he like tickled her behind the ear, and she gave out a tiny cry. She was like, "Right, I've heard it." Then 30 seconds later, 3 paramedics come through the door. So it turned out the midwife, when her head came out, the midwife dispatched an ambulance to take us to the hospital so that checks can be done and that. So 30 seconds after she was born, there were 3 paramedics and my auntie and my cousin. My auntie and my cousin had came to pick up Kane and Naomi, because obviously they couldn't come to the hospital with us. They were all lovely, the paramedics and that. They were just so nice, these 3 men. And I wanted to stay in the pool to birth the placenta, because like I said, the water was helping with my contractions, but I kept slipping. I don't know why, I kept slipping in the birthing pool. My auntie was like, "Right, we need to get you out here." So my auntie and Josh helped me get out the pool. And I said I didn't want the cord cutting until I'd birthed the placenta, and I wanted delayed cord cutting, so that basically baby gets all of the blood that was left from the placenta, which the paramedics were fine with. They left us to it. They were really nice about it. And the pain I had with the placenta, I had it with Naomi as well, all in my back. Like, I was in so much pain. Like, I had to ask my auntie and Josh to like rub the very bottom of my back, like really rub it, like put a lot of pressure down. And my auntie and my cousin took Kane and Naomi back, and it was just me, Josh, Sienna and the paramedics. And I could tell I were close to birthing a placenta, because each, like, the pain was just getting worse and worse, and I wasn't getting a break from it. The paramedics had brought gas and air. I tried it, and I just couldn't. I took it out. I was like, "Josh, I can't," because it made my head feel so fuzzy and lightheaded. And I was holding Sienna, because obviously the cord was still attached, and she was feeding. I was feeding her to help contract my uterus to help get the placenta out. I didn't even say, did I, when she was born? So Sienna was born at 7:38, and then I birthed the placenta just over an hour later, 8:42, I birthed the placenta on my living room floor. So there was a lot of blood. But I was sat on the settee, but I had to get off the settee to birth it. I had to be like crouched down. That's how I felt most comfortable. And after that, Josh cut the cord, which was completely white, which I was so happy about because she's obviously got that extra nutrients and everything. If you're on the fence about that, I'd really recommend doing some research on delayed cord cutting. I know I've seen a lot of posts where for some reason midwives say like, oh no, we only, like in the hospital, they say, oh, we only let you wait a minute. It's just policy and stuff like that. Try and delay it for as long as you can. When the cord is white, that's best, because obviously there's none left at all. She's got all of it, or he, if you have a boy. And after that, we got in the ambulance and went to the hospital. Again, yeah, they were just, those men were lovely, bless them. And we were just chatting and that, going to the hospital. Had checks done and that, and everything were fine. The checks were all good. It was quite late when we left, so my uncle picked us up, bless him. He was so tired as well because he'd been doing other stuff and that. Like I said, it was quite late. I think it was like 1 o'clock in the morning. We were waiting at the hospital for a while because the unit was quite busy. Yeah, everything was all good. And then we came home. And after all of that free birthing and everything at home, the midwife that put it all in the system at the hospital said she was birthed at the hospital. So every appointment we've had since then, oh, was the hospital birth good? I was like, I had a home birth. And every time they've said, oh, we need to get that changed, but the next appointment, it's just the same thing that they're saying about hospital birth. So after all that, they still said it on the system, it's a hospital birth. I mean, I have a video that it's a home birth. If you want to watch my labour and delivery vlog, I'll link it in the description. We didn't actually get, though, me actually like giving birth to her, because everything changed so quickly. Like Josh said, it progressed so quickly. We didn't even stop and think, oh, let's put the camera on. It just happened so fast. Oh, there was one part I wish I got though. After Sienna was born and when she was on my chest, before the paramedics came in, Kane saw her and he said, Naomi, look, Mummy's had her baby. And he picked her up so she could see Sienna, because obviously she's 2. She was small and Kane 6. And he picked her up so she could see Sienna. It was the cutest thing in the world, honestly. I will never forget that memory. So yeah, that was my home birth. I mean, looking back, when I was on when the midwife was on the phone to us, I really wish I'd have just hung up. Because in the end, she was just really annoying me. Because when I was pushing, I was not being quiet, you know, like they asked you to be in hospital. I was being loud. I am a loud birther, if that makes sense. And she was there, all I heard her kept saying, oh no, just breathe her out. And I'm like, no, I need to push. I need to be loud. And I was trying so hard to concentrate on pushing, but I just kept hearing a voice saying, oh no, shush, shush, breathe her out. And I really wish I'd have just pressed end call there and then. Other than it was amazing. I felt like Superwoman. Like I just gave birth to my 3rd baby in my living room without a midwife being there. I wasn't being prodded at and poked at and told what to do. It was amazing. Like, I don't even know how to explain it. It was complete day and night difference to what my birth with Naomi was. It was just amazing. I'm so glad that I didn't just say, oh yeah, okay, I'll go into the hospital, because it would have probably turned out very different. Kane and Naomi wouldn't have been there to see her as soon as she was born. I'm so glad I just stuck to my guns and said, I've got no problem staying at home. She did try and coerce me into getting to hospital though. She was saying about how, oh, but we need to keep an eye on baby's heart rate. And it's like, Josh was saying like, but they don't check on the heart rate when they're on their way here. They don't check on the heart rate when they tell you to stay at home until your contractions are this many minutes apart before you go in. And it's like, exactly. And she said, oh, but we're having difficulty getting ambulances out to, paramedics out to women. She literally said women. She didn't say men or just people. She said women. So she was only struggling. They're only struggling to get paramedics out to women, not men, not anybody else. Which, when she said that on the phone, I remember looking at Josh, because that really, really annoyed me. Because she was really trying to like get me into hospital at first. But when I think she got it that there was no chance, I was giving my home birth up. When there was just that I wasn't going in if there was no need to. Okay, I'm going to end this video here now. I hope you enjoyed me rambling on about my home birth. If you're expecting and you're just watching this to see like how obviously births go, different births go and that, I hope you have a lovely birth as well. I hope that you feel empowered by it, that you feel like Superwoman, and that you're on cloud 9 after you gave birth. I hope you feel like you could do anything, basically. I hope you have a great experience. Yeah, anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!